guys, welcome to another life hack video. So it has come to my attention that some of my viewers that watched the video that I posted last time on how to study like a pro got disappointed because they were expecting that those were real steps on how to study like a pro, but that was just a parody. So that was my mistake. I should have put a disclaimer saying that those weren't the real steps that I actually do when I'm studying. So right now I'm going to be revealing to you how to study the way I do, with tips, tricks, and facts and other things that you might find useful. Today I will be showing you 5 ways on how I study, or 5 steps that I usually follow when I study. So for this to be kept in our noggins and for us not to forget them, I have devised a mnemonic for myself that you can absolutely use for yourself as well, and it involves the word study. So the word study starts with letter S, doesn't it? So letter S stands for set goals. So setting goals, that's just like making a checklist. If you know what to shop for, then you know how it's gonna end like. So first of all, you have to know what to study. So whenever the instructor, the teacher tells you that you have to study a certain topic, then of course you're gonna have to write that down. So that you are gonna have to write that down, and then when you get home, you're gonna have a list on what things you need to read, what books you need to read, what pages they're found in. So that's it. That's the first step under setting your goals. It's know what to study. Second is to prepare the right material. So you cannot study if you do not have the right material. So usually we go somewhere to get our notes, or we borrow a book, the right book. And then third is to know your priorities. Usually I study where I am weakest. So the topics that most likely you hate, don't like reading, or do not understand, those are the things that I read or study with first, because it usually takes me the longest to understand what I am not interested in. So technically, that's science. And then next, the tip I have for preparing the right material is to opt for print over digital. So for me, it is easier to study with a book or a piece of paper or something that has been printed or written compared to when it is in digital form, because I usually like to doodle my notes on the side of the words, and that makes it, more personal. Then next, lastly, for setting your goals, you have to manage your time wisely. Because why? Time cannot be taken back. That's the only thing that will go against you other than yourself when it comes to studying. So use that time wisely. Okay, step number 2 we have from our mnemonic is to treat yourself right. So first, I have written here on my notes is to rest your mind. That means you have to exercise and you have to relax. Keep the blood flowing to your brain, because this will do all the work for you. Second is to eat good food, especially the food that contain the right amount of nutrients to keep the brain and the body healthy. Third is to keep good mental, physical, and emotional composition. That means if you're the type of person who's like me, listen to music because that helps me relax. Sing to the music because that helps me relax. And whenever I'm stressed out, I listen to music. I sing to music. So that's it. And then there's also a change in your scenery. I know a lot of friends that study out with other friends because they say that when they study alone in their rooms, they only end up sleeping. But to me, personally, I don't really recommend studying with other people, studying out, or going away and putting myself out there when I'm studying. So the reason being why I don't study with other people, because I am talkative as so I'm gonna be talking to everyone, talking to someone who isn't reading, talking to other people who aren't reading, and then we end up talking a lot more than the actual studying. And then the second is why I don't study out is because I don't find coffee shops conducive to learning. Because first of all, there are a lot of people around you who aren't studying, just enjoying their drinks. And that makes me think that, since they're doing that, maybe I can do that too. So that's it. That's why I don't study out. And aside from that, the second reason is a total waste of money. A mug of coffee, a tumbler of coffee, that's gonna cost me a lot of money just to sit down and read my book, which I can absolutely do at home alone. But if that works for you, then you can absolutely do it your way. Next is I really like studying with other people when I get to play teacher, because that way what I know will be, shared to them. And then secondly, I get to review with myself and remember or test my memory if whether or not I have retained anything that I have read or anything that I know about. And then lastly is when I am not at home studying, I prefer studying in gardens or places with nature around them, or places with nature around me, because that's where I find my mind is the calmest, and that's when I get to focus more. So that's it. So now this brings us to our third step, which is understand your limits. That means that you have to know up to where your mind can take you, or your body, or just you. So first, as a tip, I would say when you're studying, use a dictionary or always have a dictionary with you, because nobody's perfect. We do not know the meaning of every word that we read, and of course, we cannot retain the meanings of those words in our minds every time we meet them, the second time, the third time, the fourth time. Sometimes we forget. So it is always a plus if you take down the word and use your dictionary, write down the meaning, put it in a notebook, so that the next time you meet that word, it wouldn't be anything new to you. Then you can always ask your friends for help, because who knows what your friends have inside their minds. They may know something about the things that you don't know. So it's best that you ask your friends if they know something about the things you want to learn or the things you want to know. And then third, this is the most basic. We've been taught this since elementary, is to take down notes. Because no matter how smart you are, and no matter how much we rely on our brains for everything, we have to take down notes, because again, we are not perfect and we always forget the things that we ought not forget. So how I take notes is I write down mnemonics like this one, study, and then I correlate what I learn with real life, because sometimes when you're studying, you find these things that you're reading useless. So you have to look for something in real life or things that happen around you where you can relate the things you've read to so that when you see that thing that you have correlated the things you have read with, they're gonna be in your mind forever. Even when you don't need them, they're gonna be there. Alright, so I have a tip for understanding your limits. That's to review when you're about to sleep. Because apparently, there has been some research that says the mind works when it's stressed out. Because, I don't know why, when you're sleeping, it says that while your mind is mending itself or while your brain is healing itself, it's also retaining all the facts that you have read before you have slept. And also, it is best to think that every time you read something, only 80% of the information remains in your brain. So it is best to read your notes or review the notes that you have made, because after 5 minutes of reading, 100% of the information will remain in your brain. That's exciting, isn't it? So the second to the last step is the D. Discipline yourself, which almost everyone finds the hardest. It is very difficult to discipline yourself because why? Number one, you have things you want to do. Number two, you have things you need to do, which is studying. And you are against yourself. So that's why disciplining yourself is the hardest. So you have to keep in mind that study time is study time. You have to keep your phones away and in silent mode. You have to disconnect from social media if you're the type of person who gets really distracted from what other people do with their lives. But if you are someone who could juggle all these things at once, then good for you. The next is to follow your study schedule. That is, if you have one. If you don't, then make one now. What are you waiting for? The last step on our mnemonic is to yoke with the right people. So what does that mean? That means, number one, ultimately eliminate toxic people. People that you don't need in your life. People who always talk negative to you. People who always talk negative about you. And people who only want to purely bring you down. Bye, Felicia. And also, befriend good role models. Or not even good role models, just smart people with good study habits. That way, you will hopefully be influenced by those good study habits, and you'll also absorb some of their knowledge. I hope it works as easy as that. And then third, don't let peer pressure get to you. If you see that you have a friend who's already been studying all week long and that she wants to spend her night out, don't go with her if you know that you yourself haven't studied yet. So make the right decisions and don't let peer pressure get to you. If your friends are drinking, let them. And also, you have to think about your parents or whoever is sponsoring your studies and think that they have sacrificed a lot for your future. Because you know what? These people, they love you. And if you don't love yourself, nobody's gonna help you study. That's it, guys. I hope that you will remember what study means. And also, I hope that you won't hate me for posting the parody last time. And I hope that this helps you or anybody else that's studying in your life. I hope you share this to them, and I hope it gives them peace. So I'll see you next time.